So I am primarily a writer and content strategist. I'm not a designer in the way that many of you are, which will become apparent as my slides progress. I didn't realize they were going to be so big. I'm a little anxious about that. But I like to think of, and would encourage you to think of, if you don't already, words as a design material. They are, in fact, an incredibly powerful design material, and as we've seen evidenced from some of the non-screen experiences that folks in this audience and elsewhere are starting to design more and more of, we have experiences now, digital experiences, that are made entirely of words. So whether you have traditional web content, which is kind of the clients and folks that I work with, big Fortune 50 companies with websites with many tens of thousands of pages, sometimes tens of thousands of PDFs, which is frustrating. There's a lot of writing to be done for all of these products and experiences. I've been growing this list. This big list is not important, but I did want to put a little bit of a bracket on what kind of writing I'm talking about. So there's writing about our craft. I'm sure many of you contribute to your company's blogs or write on Medium. Maybe you write style guides, et cetera, et cetera. There are lots of ways that writing can be applied in the context of design, and I'm focusing on these two in particular. So writing that is literally like part of the product that supports our designs, and things that get integrated into those designs. It can be useful to get the writing done to articulate what writing even means and what kinds of content we're talking about. So in my Writing for Designers book, I offered this simple framework. So there's interface content, things that facilitate the experience. If you took them out, it would be broken. Right? So if there aren't words on the button, no one knows what the button does. Now the interface does not work. There's product content, which supports the experience. Maybe you're designing a smart chandelier, and you need a different screen or some little introductory piece that explains to people what the symbols on it mean. You might think of that as product content. Now maybe you have a magical little handbag. That bag is going to be supported by marketing content, which frames the experience. So even the things on the homepage, stuff that maybe we traditionally think of as for sales or marketing, those things are really important to the product experience. Now, the challenge that I run into and the big mistake that teams make is they know they have all the stuff that they need to write. There aren't enough people to write it. They need more writers. They need to get the designers writing. They need to get the developers contributing strings to error messages and all this kind of thing. And their first instinct is to make rules. They make a whole bunch of rules. They're like, I know what we're going to do to get 500 people writing at our company now is we're going to give them a style guide. That does not work. That does not work. You cannot hand people a dictionary and the AP style guide and have them suddenly be magically good at writing. You need to explain to people and train them. I'm advocating for you to train people on how to do the writing, not just on what good writing is. There's all kinds of articles about how to write for the web that are actually about what to write for the web, right? Short headlines, good, clear, usable text, all that kind of stuff. But we don't talk too much about the doing of it. So I've come up with a framework. This is not a very original framework. This is some very straightforward meat and potato stuff, but this is how you get the writing done. I want you to think about whatever the scope of your writing is and plan a writing workflow, or help your team plan a writing workflow, which has 4 phases: prepare, compose, edit, and finish. Prepare to do the writing, compose the actual text, edit and improve what you've written, and then know what it's going to mean to be done with the assignment, right? Because we are not Stephen King writing our novel, and that done just means send it off to the editor. We often have to reintegrate things with our design, get it through legal, all that fun stuff. So these are the 4 phases. That's really it. You can get some popcorn now, but I'm going to talk about tools and tips for each of these 4 that I think are really helpful, and that if you need a little help with your writing, that can maybe like just keep you from face planning when you get to the word parts on your designs. So prepare, getting ready to do the writing. This is the wrong place to start the writing. People think they need to do the writing. Okay, file, new document. What do I want to say? What do I want to say? Okay, this is bad. Don't start here. Don't do it. What I would encourage you to consider is a unit of measurement that I call the assignment. I'm a journalist by education, and that's a very common unit in the world of editorial work, is the assignment. What is the scope of one discrete thing that one human or team can be responsible for writing? Okay, even within the scope of a design project, there needs to be a writer. And they might not be a writer on their business card, but there needs to be one person that owns the writing. That one person needs to have an assignment. So figure out the scope of your writing assignment. Are you doing product, interface, or marketing content? How many strings is it? Where's it going to go? All that good stuff. Once you know what you're trying to accomplish, you can map out a workflow. I would encourage you to get a piece of paper, do what I just did on that previous screen, prep, edit, compose, finish. How are you going through those 4 steps? And then critically, and where a lot of people are making the big mistake and starting with the new document window, is you need to collect inputs. A wonderful thing in design writing is that very often the quote-unquote writing does not require generating new words. It's about finding the right words and assembling them into something that will serve the design. There might be a copy deck you can borrow from. There might be previous designs that you can steal from. You might be able to find great words and ideas in stakeholder interview notes, in user comments, things out there in social media. So give yourself a bunch of stuff to work from so you're not just staring at a blank screen. Okay, so you know your assignment, you know who the writer is, you have collected a whole bunch of inputs. Now it is time to actually do the writing. 2 important things to figure out are space and place. Where is your butt going to go while you're doing the writing? It's actually very important to think about. And then where are the words going to go as you are typing them? The number one problem that folks have identified in all the workshops I've taught on writing is getting time and space to do it, to actually be able to sit and think quietly and write without someone tapping them on the shoulder, without a PM asking them for an update, or someone just quote-unquote checking in, okay? So you might have to look at your calendar, give yourself a little space, give yourself a place to do it. All right, I actually like noisy coffee shops for writing. It just works for me. But coffee shops where people don't know me. That's the important part. And then think about place. Microsoft Word is probably a real bad place to start the writing if you are making some sort of cool interactive digital thing, because that is a software designed for printing documents. Okay? The content management system might be a bad place to start if you're going to get too trapped up in all the fiddliness and the alignment and design and that sort of thing. So, space and place. You also want to create some structure. Traditional writing, a great piece of structure is an outline. I use outlines all the time. You can use outlines for the text of your interface or your product. Another great way to create structure, something I did a lot as a user interface writer working on an integrated UX team, is that someone would hand me wireframes. They said they needed a bunch of words. I would go in and annotate everything, draw boxes around it, put a little letter, number, some sort of identifier next to everything that needs words, because now I can do it systematically. I can start a spreadsheet. I can give myself some sort of structure to know all the stuff that I have to write, and it also makes your interface talkable. Once you have all of that together, my advice to you is to write very quickly. Do a lot of prep work, but when it's time to actually start writing, get a complete draft of the thing done as fast as possible. You don't have to start at the beginning. Right? You can start with the call to action button if that's compelling to you, but you want to get it all together because, as I'm sure you've all experienced, what is communicated to the user at the top of a page or at the start of a workflow needs to line up with what happens at the end. You need that consistency. So you don't want to get stuck in one place. You want to get it all written out. Editing is about improving the quality of your work. Editing is not proofing. Editing is not proofing. You want to plan some steps in your workflow. However much time you have, it'll scale. Can you work through it with a friend? Can you get another set of eyes on this thing? Can you just take the time to rewrite it? I strongly encourage you, as you're doing your editing, to have a scratch pad. Have a place where the good current draft is going, and then another place that can be messy, that is allowed to be messy. When you are working just within one window, you're going to start proofing. You're going to get real fiddly and fussy, and you're also going to cut something and forget to paste it and lose a whole paragraph. It'll happen in the best of us. So this is really silly, simple advice, but I strongly encourage you, just use full screen and put 2 documents next to each other, okay? And don't just edit in place, but look at the old version, rewrite it in a new space. What should you edit for? I like this mnemonic, the ACBs. Accuracy, clarity, and brevity. This is really useful with user interface text. First, make sure that what you've written is accurate and true. If it's not, you're sunk. Then focus on clarity. How well can I explain this to someone else? Is this as simple as possible? Then, finally, brevity, making it short. I see tons and tons of UX designers get sunk because they do the interface design first. They know they've got this little bitty area that they can write in, and they start by trying to write some perfect little 30-character thing, and you're not going to be able to do it. Write the whole thing out first, then edit it down to size. As you're editing, seek abstraction. If you've ever turned a text upside down to check the kerning, same idea with editing. You want to read it from bottom to top. You want to have a computer read it back to you. You want to read it out loud to someone, but you need to switch context from being a reader or you're not going to catch important things to improve. Finally, finishing should be really rigid and procedural. It should feel the same on most assignments, regardless of what kinds of things you have written. To that end, learn to love checklists, quality control checklists, editing checklists. I encourage you to have a personal one. If there are just little quirks or foibles in your own writing, stuff that you get wrong a lot, put it on a checklist, go over it. And keep your receipts. This is how you survive the stakeholders, right? Because someone's going to look at this thing and they're going to go, you know, I don't know about this tagline. Where did this come from? And you can say, you know what? I, in fact, did not write that. I might even agree with you that that's a junky tagline, but this is from over here, from the sales team, and they decided on that, so please go talk to them, right? So know where all of your stuff came from. That's the workflow. Plan it out. Prepare, compose, edit, finish. You can do this for when you have 30 minutes of writing. You can do this for a whole entire project. It's like little nesting dolls. It will scale. If you'd like to learn more about this kind of stuff, I wrote a book. It's actually out now called Writing for Designers from a Book Apart. My website is kubie.co, and I'd be happy to answer questions about it. And because I knew I was going to have an audience of designers, I wanted to leave you with this beautiful motivational poster. I tried to make it as pretty as I could. This is my final words of wisdom to you, that words are more important than the typeface in which they are set. Thank you.